Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be learning about the chain rule. So, the chain rule states that if you have a function u of x that is comprised of both a inner and outer function, we'll denote the outer function as f of x and the inner function as g of x. The first derivative of that function as a whole, u prime of x, equals f prime of g of x times g prime of x. Okay? That is essentially all you need to know in order to be able to do the chain rule. Now, the key for these kind of questions is to find your inner and outer function. So that brings us to our first example, d dx of 3x plus 5 squared. So we'll denote our outer function as f of x and our inner function as g of x. So if you look at this equation, you'll notice that 3x plus 5 is all squared, right? So we could say our outer function is x squared, and our inner function, what's inside of that x squared, is 3x plus 5. Okay, so now all we need to do is take the first derivatives of both of these equations and then plug it into this equation right here, okay? So f prime of x, using the power rule, we bring this power in front, turn it into a coefficient, and decrease it by 1. We get 2x. Now, g prime of x, same power rule. This is a 1 right up here. Bring that in front, decrease it by 1. The x goes away. So we're left with 3. And then the derivative of any constant is 0. So g prime of x is 3. So now we've got everything we need to find the overall derivative. So u prime of x is f prime, which is 2, x. Substitute g of x in for x, which is 3x plus 5, all times g prime of x, which is 3. So we get 6 times 3x plus 5, or 18x plus 30. And I guess I should mention that in this example, in case you're not familiar with ddx, u of x is going to be 3x plus 5 all squared. So we just found the derivative right there. All right, next example, d dx of the square root of 6x plus 7. So in this example, our u of x is the square root of 6x plus 7. So can we find a outer and inner function here? We'll again denote our outer as f of x and our inner as g of x. Well, it might be helpful to think of another way to represent this, which you can do as 6x plus 7 to the 1/2 power, right? So our outer function here is going to be x to the 1/2 power. And our inner is going to be 6x plus 7. So now, straightforward derivatives. Use the power rule for f, bring the 1/2 in front, decrease the power by 1. You get 1/2 x to the minus 1/2. And for g prime of x, again, there's a 1 here, bring that in front, decrease it by 1, the x goes away. You get 6, derivative of a constant is 0. So now we use what we know to get u prime of x, which is f prime. So 1/2. Plug in g of x for x and f prime. 6x plus 7, all to the minus 1/2. This is all times g prime of x, which is 6, yielding us a result of 3 times 6x plus 7 to the minus 1/2. Now, another way you can represent this is by 3 over the square root of 6x plus 7. Either one is correct. All right, next example, d dx of ln x. Our u of x here is ln x quantity cubed. We got our outer function f of x and our inner function g of x. So similar to the last two, our outer can be represented as x to the third, and our inner is going to be ln x. Again, straightforward derivations here. F prime, use the power rule, bring that power in front, turn it into a coefficient, and decrease the power by 1. We get 3x squared. And then g prime of x, the derivative of ln x, is simply 1 over x. So now, straightforward plug and chug to get u prime of x. You get 3 ln x squared times 1 over x is our answer. Now again, if you want to simplify it, make it neater, you get 3 ln x squared over x. Okay, let's take a look at one last example here. d dx of 3e to the 4x squared minus 5, sorry. So that will be our u of x here. Just copy down that equation. And then again, f of x is our outer, g of x is our inner. So this one might be a little more difficult at first glance, but our outer is going to be 3e to the x, and this right here is going to be our inner function. Okay, now we just need to get the first derivatives of both of those, and we're home free. So, derivative of 3e to the x is just 3e to the x. And then the derivative of 4x squared, bring the power in front, multiply it by 4, get 8x. And then the derivative of any constant is simply 0. So now we're going to plug this into our equation, get 3e to the x, where we plug in g for x. We get 4x squared minus 5. And then this is all times g prime for 8x, resulting in a first derivative of 24x times e to the 4x squared minus 5.